In this video, we're going to look at the tools and techniques available to us when it comes to actually making a build. So let's apply these concepts and make a build from scratch. First of all, let's lay down some samples so we have a bit of structure. I want to make an 8-bar build, so let's say over this period here, bar 17 to bar 25. And let's start off with a nice big impact to set things off nicely. I know there are some great impacts in this sample pack. Let's have that for that position and a different one for the first 4-bar section, maybe this one. And we need to turn off warping because Ableton has incorrectly assumed that this is a 4-bar long piece of audio. So we'll turn off warp and it's back to normal length. And again, turn off warp, back to normal length. And we'll turn down these channels to say -10 so we have tons of headroom to work with. So that signifies the start of the build, the start of the 8-bar section. And then this one signifies the start of the second 4 bars. Not to mention they sound pretty cool. So next we'll insert some drums. I think a snare drum will be great, a nice punchy, weighty snare drum, and then we'll do some tricks with that snare drum. So we'll grab a nice big chunky snare from this layered snare sample pack. That one will be good. And I think we'll put them at quarter divisions for the first 4 bars, then 16ths, or then 8ths and 16ths. We'll see how it sounds. So we will remove the fade at the start of that snare and duplicate it over quarter divisions. And then let's actually jump to 16ths. Sometimes you jump in half to 8ths and then 16ths. But I think 16ths straight away will sound a bit more exciting. Remember, the faster you repeat these drum samples, the more tension, the more excitement you're building. Granted, you can't hold that level of excitement forever, so you wouldn't want to do, say, 1.5 minutes of 16th division snare drums. And one final snare before the drop hits at the start of bar 25. Cool stuff. Right now, the snares aren't really building. Yes, they're very punchy and they sound great, but they're not building in excitement in any way at all. So let's automate a low-pass filter sweep across the duration of these snares, and that will bring in these snares over time, building up energy and tension. So we'll grab a auto filter. Remember, in Ableton, when we automate a filter, we want to use the auto filter device. And by default, it is on a low-pass filter sweep. And we'll find a nice position for the start position. In fact, let's look at a spectrum analyzer. We probably want the resonant bump to be around the fundamental of the snare in terms of a starting point. And the fundamental is 180 hertz or so. So maybe if we start it around here, just a little bit beyond. So we'll select the control we want to automate, this frequency here. We will do a cool little trick, which is select the region we want to automate, click and drag up. And now we have a nice ramp set up if we remove these nodes. So this is a more natural way to bring in a snare over time than simple volume automation. And then I want something new to happen at the start of the last 2 bars at the start of this section. So let's do another little trick, and that is a frequency shifter effect. So we're going to pitch up the frequencies, well, technically not pitch up, but shift up the frequencies over that 2-bar period. So we'll grab a frequency shifter, drop that on top. In fact, we'll drop that before the low pass filter. And then we want to automate this fine control. Something like that. Actually, we'll put that low pass filter sweep in its own automation lane like so we don't forget about it. And then frequency shifter, we'll click the parameter. And then in this situation, manually draw it in because I want it to start a little bit before there. because you can't actually hear the effect of the frequency shift until it's already done a bit of frequency shifting. So that's why I'm starting it a little bit before the start of bar 23. We'll have another impact or another sound there to symbolize the definite start of bar 23. But for now, I think that should sound cool. Let's see how it sounds. Next, we'll add in a nice big rising synth sound because we want some musical harmonic content in here as well. So Gladiator will be a great place for a big synth sound. So we'll grab Gladiator. I know one of the presets called Tronic is very good, so we'll try that one. Something like that should be good. So we'll draw in a nice simple MIDI pattern. We'll keep that going and then draw in a nice big pitch bend rise. And actually, should we change the pattern for the final 4 bars? Yeah, let's see how that sounds. So we're creating some rhythmic interest. And let's program a nice big pitch bend rise. Now what we need to do is actually set the pitch bend limits in the synth. So we will go to Gladiator and go to pitch wheel and change this from up and down 2 semitones to up and down 12 semitones, which is a whole octave, a nice musical interval to do that pitch bend. And then we will draw in a pitch bend in the MIDI envelopes bit. So we'll draw in something like that. And all of a sudden it's starting to sound like a nice build. But we need a few more layers of samples. It's a bit thin at the moment. So let's add in some more sweeps very quickly. We will add in some, let's grab a Vengeance sweep because everyone uses those. That should be good. Let's try that. Change the length a bit to something like that. So that should be cool. We need a medium sweep for this section going up and then an additional percussive line, maybe a hi-hat at 16th divisions for this final 2-bar section to give it that final bit of energy before the drop releases. So let's grab a nice medium sweep. That should be perfect. And we'll do that final percussive layer, which we could do in MIDI or audio. Let's do it in audio because it's a little bit easier to see what's happening. So let's grab a hi-hat. I think I want to grab an analog hi-hat just for fun. Let's try and find a nice thick, heavy hi-hat. That would be a bad example. That's a bit better. You can hear the noise. That's a nice, thicker, more weighty hi-hat, so we'll try that guy at 16th divisions. Down in volume a touch, and we'll see how that sounds. And there's one final little detail. I want to do some filter sweeping on this Gladiator synth and those hi-hats to give it a bit more movement throughout the build. So what we'll do, we'll copy that. In fact, we won't copy, we'll grab a new instance of auto filter for Gladiator. Auto filter like so. something like this. So it's going to open up and then drop down a touch and then open up all the way. And then a similar sweep for these hi-hats as well. So we still have it pretty thick, and then it's going to open up all the way. Let's give it a listen. I think it'll sound pretty cool. Perfect. I think I would probably still add in a few more sound effect sweeps if I was to do this in an actual track, but most of the main elements are in there and we've covered all the major techniques. Thanks for watching.